Hi, it's Benson Cotter with Mynd, and today we're going to talk about how to achieve the highest ROI in your rental investment property. There's only a few factors really that come down to make you successful with your rental investment. Always number one is the property acquisition. How you acquire the property, how do you identify it. That's always going to be number one. If you get it for a 20% discount, you're going to be successful. If you don't, you get it at normal rates. There's other tips that we'll talk about how to actually achieve that highest ROI. That is the number one reason we see that properties are unsuccessful when we take them over as management. They just bought the property, they bought too high, or they bought a home rather than a rental investment. Really have to identify and make sure, hey, this is going to get a good property, it's going to get me a good rental price, not too much maintenance to go into it. And so there's many ways you can do to avoid buying wrong. Usually when you're buying the process with your realtor, get someone that knows the experience of the rental investment, either a property manager or someone you know, someone that's been in that role to help you identify what's good. Again, 95% of all realtors, they're used to buying homes. They're not used to buying rental investments. So number one, always identify the property correctly, and when you acquire it, make sure it's the right type of property for a rental investment. Second, the big one that a lot of people don't know, that we really feel like we've kind of established here and tested. We've done, over 10,000 different leases and properties that we've managed and helping investments. And the biggest one is actually making it a good experience for the resident. In turn, making it a good experience, not just, hey, you want to do good, you want the tenant to have a good experience, but it also increases your ROI. And how it does that is when you set proper expectations and a good experience, typically the tenant will stay longer and have less maintenance requests. They'll actually take pride in rental ownership, I guess, of the property itself. And you'll find that they'll actually do a lot of the maintenance themselves. They feel like it's their home. And so they'll take care of those things that need to be taken care of. Things that that they don't have knowledge for, they definitely will request maintenance. But we see about half the maintenance request and properties where we have what we call better tenants, or tenants that actually have a good experience. So how can you get that good experience? Usually from the very start, it's about being responsive. When they first get the property, or even before they even rent the property, is maybe when they're showing the property or calling about it. Be responsive with them. Set expectations up front that this is going to be a good experience for them, that you're reliable, that you're there for them. Once you're responsive, go through that whole process, do your background check, make sure they're good, solid tenants, even look over state lines, make sure that whoever you run your application through, they're checking all states, not just the state the property's in. Once you do that good background check and you actually find them, you're responsive to that whole process. Once they're ready to move in, maybe meet them at the property. Show them where the shutoff valves are. Show them if you have gas. Hey, here's where gas is, that you need to know where that shutoff valve is. Maybe even explain about the neighborhood. Say, hey, there's a great gym over on this side. There's a good restaurant that we used to go to here. It's great to be able to kind of bring them into the community. If they're part of the community, then they want to stay longer. They take pride in it, and they really want to be there. I remember one of the first properties I actually bought for my house for me, my wife, and my kids to move into. And we came in, opened the door, and on the counter there's this big old packet left for us. And in it had everything listed about the neighborhood, about the friends and families like all around there. Had the parks where it's the good parks to go to, explained some restaurants they loved, even had pictures of all the plants and how to best take care of the plants that they did. They really took pride in their home. And I thought, well, it's a little overburdened. They had this huge book of everything in there, and they had maintenance history on all that stuff. But maybe you leave a little coupon to, hey, there's a good restaurant that we like, or hey, this is how you do take care of the lawn. I usually water it once a day. Things that you can do to help them to kind of, self-help, or help them to actually realize they need to actually take ownership of the property and feel like it is theirs. Just like you want it to be their home, basically. They feel like it is like their home ownership. If they do that, they're typically more inclined to do small little maintenance items without bugging you and calling you. And if they do, hey, call and bug you about small things, it's okay. We want to make sure it's good for them. But you can set those expectations up front of, hey, this is the things you're required to do. You need to trim that tree. If it's not over 6 feet, you need to trim that tree. You need to take care of the pool, have cleaning once a week or twice a week, whatever it is. You set those expectations, and then you do make sure you fulfill everything that's your responsibility. But it tends to, they kind of take care of themselves and take care of the property themselves. Let's see. Besides creating this whole experience for the tenants so they stay longer, and we've seen it. We really have seen it where they've stayed longer. We have average over 3 years that they stay in our properties. about 3 maintenance requests per year rather than the average of 6. We've seen this experience really does work, making it a good experience for them, home ownership. Once you have a good experience for them, usually you can charge more. If you're known to have a good home and it takes care of it quality, they're going to tell their friends. Usually that's the best way to actually rent a house, is not through Zillow or through those other postings. It's actually through the current tenant that's established himself in the community, and they tell their friends they're moving out, and it kind of gets a word around. They actually, hey, I love this house. It's an awesome area. We just outgrew it, or we're moving out of state, and they'll release it for you a lot of times, which is a cool experience because it saves your vacancies, smooth transitions usually, all around better experience. But other way you can do that, if you've established that good experience, you can add more income, not just with rental price, but with administration fees. And a lot of states allow you to do this. Some states don't, so you have to check with your regulation. And apartment buildings are really good at this. Maybe a one-time setup fee or a monthly fee for the things that you're doing for them, whether it's allowing them to pay rent online. If you have a software set up, there's lots of them out there where it allows the tenant to pay rent online, submit their maintenance requests online. There's some good ones out there, and so you really want to check into those. But if you provide these services for them, why not be able to actually charge for them? And it's totally fine. I feel like it's still a great experience for them. You're actually heightening their experience, so you're just going to actually ask them to acquire a little bit more money for it. We typically have different fees, a one-time admin fee or an online fee. There's lots of things you can do that you can look at. Just call us, we'll talk about it. But there's definitely, make sure you're in compliance with the regulation. That's why I make sure you check with your local property manager or maybe a lawyer or anybody else in the real estate department that actually knows about it. But definitely an easy way to add income where it might be just $20 or $30, but that goes a long way over a year. It's an extra $400 a year, which could help with your vacancy. That's the biggest concern is vacancy. Well, how can I get more while they're there and rented? And so there's some other factors for helping to achieve, the greatest ROI that you can for your property, but I can't hamper it enough. After you have identified a great property, it's about that experience. Really does. I'm telling you, it's like a secret sauce almost that we are able to do to create that experience that allows us to charge more, allows the tenant to actually have less maintenance requests. They take care of the home themselves. They leave in a better condition. They stay longer. And actually, remember, they want to be there. Usually when tenants move in, they don't want to move. They want to stay for 3 or 4 years. But the average is 1.8 years of tenants moving out every 1.8 years. I don't think everybody's moving every 2 years. They don't want to move every 2 years. It's just their experience or things happen where they don't want to be there anymore. Well, but when they start out, they're so excited. I'm telling you, when they very first start the process to find a home, they intend to stay at that home for a long time. So let's make sure it's a good experience for them. They'll stay longer, which it reduces your vacancy, which is the hugest hit to your ROI besides the buying wrong. So always make sure, get a good experience, help them stay longer, and hopefully less maintenance requests and they take care of the home. Again, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us. We'd love to answer. We'd love to talk about this stuff. If you're trying to identify a property, we can help you. If you already have a property and seeing how you can create that better experience, definitely talk to us, call us, chat us, whatever. We'll definitely help you out.